video, I'm going to talk about reducing duplicate code in your unit test with ItEach. Okay, so I'm at replit.com here with just a simple Node.js JavaScript project in the browser. This index file is really just creating an instance of Mocha and then using Mocha to run our tests. And I'm using Mocha because it's a little bit trickier to do ItEach here in just it.each. It's just a built-in thing, but some people, for whatever reason, may be using Mocha, and I just wanted to show you that it's possible to do this in Mocha also. Okay, so let's take a look at our function here. IsValid percentage takes an input and just checks if it's between 0 and 100, returns true if it is, and returns false if not. So we're just checking if this input is a valid percentage number. Okay, and we're using the common.js way of exporting things here with our module.exports, and then our test file, we're using this require to bring in our function, and we're also bringing in expect here from chai so we can do some assertions. And we already have some tests here, right? So we're describing this in IsValid percentage function. We have a test to return true if the input is valid percentage, and a test that returns false if it's an invalid percentage. Okay, so whoops, looks like I have a typo somewhere. I changed the name of this file but didn't update this. Whoops. Percentage.test. Yep, so these tests both work here. Do they work though? So let's see, we might want to add some more cases here, right? So let's say and 0, right? 0 should return true because that's valid percentage. 100, maybe something somewhere in the middle, 50, something like that. And so how do we do this here? Well, you might want to just say Shift Alt, and then your arrow keys, and just copy lines, just duplicate. And you have to be careful though, because this is, you could argue, a code smell, right? Because your expect is valid, the parentheses is just more code to look at, and it's kind of tougher to understand what's really happening. But it can be a fine place to start, and then we can just refactor it into something better. Okay, so we had 0, 52, 100. Okay, let's run this. And we have an error. Also notice that when we just group all of our assertions here in the one it block, we don't know exactly which one of these assertions is failing. Oh, it's just saying that we expected it to equal true, which we're expecting all these to equal true, and it just returned false. So what we kind of have to do is just go one by one, I guess, and check, right? Still failing, still failing, still failing. And you can see how this duplication is kind of slowing you down. Okay, so now it's passing, so it must be this one. So let's see, is our test wrong or is our source code wrong? So we do want this to expect true, right? 100 is a valid percentage amount, 100%. 100% it is. Okay. So let's take a look at our code here, and we can see actually that this part, it's only checking that it's less than 100. where we actually want to check that's less than or equal to 100. Okay, so let's run this again, and now we can see that our test passed. Okay, but we still want to have all these cases so that we can make sure that it's passing for all these also. Okay, and we can do a similar thing for these ones that are supposed to be false. Right, we can say maybe 1,000, -1 we could pass in, and these all return false. Okay, so we do have this working now, 100% code coverage, I think, but can we do better? Right now everything's green, we're in that refactor step, so what can we refactor here? And I'm saying we can get all of these down to just one assertion statement, and going to use a nice little thing here. Look at ItEach. Okay, so like I said, this is just built in, comes out of the box with jest, but in Mocha you do need to use some kind of library in order to do this. So I'm gonna do the install, coming back over here. Okay, so we have a shell that we can run commands right here in the browser. I'm gonna paste that, installing it, save dev, just kind of good practice because this is not something you want to package with your function if you're going to deploy it. This is just kind of testing tools that you need for development. Okay, so while that's going, let's add the import here. We can see that we want to import ItEach from Mocha ItEach, and of course we're using the CommonJS syntax here, so let's say this equals require Mocha ItEach. Okay, and now we can make a test where we just say it returns, and then we have kind of a special thing that this library is looking for, which is this dollar curly braces type syntax, and then we can put in our variable name. Right, so I'm just going to call this expect result, like the result of our function, what it returns. We're going to returns the result if input, well maybe when input is input. Okay. Now, the second argument here, oh, sorry, I'm just doing a regular it. We want to use our ItEach. Right. Okay, so the second argument here, I'm just going to put this on a new line. This will be an array of our different test cases that we want to run this test for. Okay, and each test case is itself an array because we have multiple inputs, right? So each one has a result and then an input. Okay, so we want to return true when it's 0, true when it's 1, true when it's 52, true when it's 100. Okay. Now, third thing we need is the actual function body where we put our test code and assertions and everything. Okay, so going to make this an arrow function here. And this takes our parameters, right? And so we made them an array here. So I'm just going to kind of destructure this array with our names that we call them, which is result and input. Okay. And then I'm going to expect that calling our function with the input then gives us a result that is equal to our result variable from our test cases. Okay. So we can run that. ItEach is not a function. You may have not done the proper syntax for this. Okay, yep, CommonJS converted. Okay, so this is passing now. You can see that it doesn't exactly log the values here, which still trying to figure out if it's possible or if it's just me. It seems like when I change these to backticks, the test does not even run anymore. So that's a little strange. But the idea here is that we're just reducing the duplication here, right? So instead of all these expects, and then you also have these magic numbers, which are kind of a code smell, where here, these numbers are just the different inputs that we're varying for each test. So you can very clearly see these are the things that change in each test. We're taking input, throwing it into our function, and then expecting it to have some kind of result. Okay. Another form of duplication, right? If you look at this, line 26 versus line 18, these are almost the exact same line of text, except the one says true and the one says false, and valid, invalid percentage. Okay, so we could just add a few more test cases here and say false 101, false 1000, false -1. Nice. And now we can delete all of this code, and we're just left with this one ItEach returns result when the input is input. Okay, and it's very nice, compact, easy to read, and easy to change if we want to add or remove test cases later. So, hope you enjoyed this video. See you next time.